Let's drive 3 golf questions.
So question number 1, what is the best way for me to improve without taking lessons or doing kind of swing change and technique pieces? Great question. Golf is much more than technique, right? If technique was the only way to get better, then everybody that spends hours and hours on the range would be the best golfers in the world, which doesn't happen. So to understand how I need to get better, you have to understand yourself and what it takes. For me, kind of generically, what would be the best way for you to get better fast without improving your golf technique? To me, number 1 is understanding targeting. And by targeting, that means how I actually attack the golf course and how do I actually, move the golf ball around, what am I aiming at, and having that understanding of where to aim based off of what I can do can really influence your ability to score quicker than any lesson you'll ever get. So I like to use finger dispersions, so you would hold up fingers. So let's say I shoot in the low 80s. So that means I'm going to have a dispersion rate of about 15% on average. So each finger is roughly 3%. So 5 fingers left and right of the hole would be my average dispersion. Now I could have a shot shape that I see quite often, a cut for a right-hand player, a draw for a right-hand player, how the ball moves. And then with that, I can adjust how I angle my hands to the target. But let's say, again, I don't have a shot shape that shows up every time. So I could actually hold up to the fairway off the tee box and go hand to hand and say, inside of my 2 fingers, inside of my thumbs, where can I aim that takes away the biggest potential of creating a hazard shot or a lost ball or starting to use the rules of golf. So just by holding up my hands either off a tee box, approach shot, I can really start to get an idea of where to aim better. And if I aim better, golf to me is like blackjack. It's a game of probability and statistics. So the more times I can prevent big numbers, keep myself in play, and allow myself to play the hole as designed, I have a really good chance of scoring well. Where people go really wrong is they get behind that concept of how far can I hit it? Let me take dead aim at everything. Let me challenge parts of this golf course. That works for really, really high-end players some of the time. But again, having that understanding of I can attack the golf course on every shot and understanding my variability and playing within that variability gives me a better chance to score. I'm going to tell you right now, if you shoot in the hundreds, if you shoot in the 90s, even in the 80s, if you start to use finger dispersions, and you can do this inside a training, right? Hold up 2 fingers, how many shots, 2 fingers on each side of the hole, how often do I end up within that 3 fingers, 4 fingers, 5 fingers? You can really get a good understanding of what your ability is to control the golf ball, and once you understand that ability, now I can make very practical decisions on aiming. I love Trackman, Flight Scope. There's so many of them out there, right? That show you dispersion rates, play fun games, but on the golf course, you don't have that ability. The good news is the good Lord has given you fingers, or at least for most of you out there, and you can go out there and start to aim better using targeting with finger dispersions. Go to YouTube. My friend Rob Fales and I shot a 10 video series. Each video is about 3 minutes long that goes into great detail on how to use this. So I would really recommend you to go watch that. I guarantee you for higher handicappers, I'm gonna throw a number out there. I guarantee 10% better play by targeting better. So if you're shooting 100, I'm gonna take off 10 shots. If you shoot 80, I'm going to take off, well, okay, maybe that's not good. But for really, really high handicappers, if you're shooting in the hundreds, I guarantee you 10%. And then again, as we start getting lower, that percentage will change, but you will make better decisions and play better golf. So that would be, to me, the best way to get better without having to take a technical golf swing lesson. All right. I'm sorry, and that question came from a Golf Cask member in South Carolina. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say the names to date, but hey, I have the questions here on my phone. I just want to make sure I hit them. Question number 2, what is the best What are the best practices improving your putting? And this is a local conversation I actually had with a lesson the other day, who is also a Golf Cask member. So what is the best practices for me to get better at putting? Putting is very simple. There's 3 main components: read, speed, start line. There's branches off of that, but those are the three main drivers of performance on a putting green. Can I control speed of the ball? Can I make a good predictable read? And then can I start it relatively online? So understanding strengths and weaknesses inside of those three areas will define how to practice better. But for a big blanket category, what is the best way to get better? I would say speed control and read would be best, right? We're going to start it relatively online, depending on our capabilities, but even a higher handicapper is going to start the ball usually within a degree or two of their intended start line. Where we really get into trouble is if we don't have a read or we don't have speed to match that. I've seen probably the best improvement I've seen across the board. I used to think it was read, but I would definitely say it's speed control. If your ability to hit it a certain distance, so by speed control, I'm not talking speed of the putter or speed of the ball. It's more of a distance control game, right? So my ability to control the distance of a ball off the putter face is really, really important. So your ability to what I would call baseline, be able to hit 10-foot putts, 20-foot putts, 30-foot putts within a certain variance. And there's great videos inside of YouTube on that, or you can go into GolfCast, find the same videos. But that information of being able to control the distance of the ball, I think is of the utmost importance. Most golfers, even in their 70s, don't have a very good concept or understanding on how to control distance, how far they're hitting the ball. So designing a system where you can really, on command, hit it 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, start to bridge the gaps. If you have that ability, one, you'll see 3 putts go away because, again, you know, my ability to hit it relatively close to the hole becomes distinctly better. And then you start pairing that with a good read and, you know, a reasonable start line, you'll start to see more putts go in the hole and more putts challenging the hole to go in. So to me, again, I would say understanding the three main components is huge, but speed control disproportionately, I have found, especially for higher handicappers, is much more important than in any of the other two legs. I used to think read was the most important, and read is important because if your read is way off, you know, your miss can be exaggerated. But I think, again, for the higher handicapper that doesn't want to invest much time in green reading and learning those skills, I think that speed control piece, distance control, is really, really important. So I hope that was helpful. And again, I had a player that was, you know, a single-digit handicapper getting ready to go play college golf. We went through a whole understanding how to create speed, what pieces, movements create that speed, changed their entire life, which was really, really cool. And then number 3, who should I listen to advice when it comes to improving my golf game? So who should I listen to improve? One, a good coach. What makes a good coach? God. A good coach is a player that is a coach that is shown to be able to get players better and move them to their goals. To me, is a good coach. A good coach doesn't mean they're the best swing coach, doesn't mean they're the best this or that, but it means that they have the ability to help a player move towards a goal. The dangers inside the golf industry right now, there's a lot of great technology out there that can enhance a player and move a player, but doesn't mean the player is going to get better and it translates to getting better on the golf course. There's a lot of great methods and models out there where they're teaching a certain way to do something and that will improve you. But again, the beauty of golf is there's no one model, there's no one method that really makes that huge of improvement. So maybe I go learn green reading, I learn a technique, great. But that doesn't mean, one, I can control distance, doesn't mean I putt well, doesn't mean I hit the ball well enough to actually use the method to be able to putt better, and things like that. So be careful that thinking of finding a method or a model that's going to change it. Also, a good coach usually has some knowledge inside the system, right? I would want to learn from somebody that can move me forward, but I also want to learn from somebody that has played the game and understands the game, because again, golf is bigger than technique, right? It's bigger than just creating this one piece. A lot of golf coaches I've met out there, really fine people, some of them not fine people, but there's a lot of really good golf coaches out there that can't break 100, can't break 90, and they're out there teaching high-level pros a method or a methodology or something inside of statistics, and they just can't break 100. So again, be careful. They might have an understanding inside of data science, they might have an understanding inside of a swing model that might make you better, it might not, it might make you worse, but again, be careful on who you listen to, because I've coached college golf. I've coached some of the best athletes in the world. I play a bunch of amateur events when I was younger, less so as I've gotten older with kids and family, but I'm going to start playing that more in 2025, which is going to be a really cool series coming we're going to talk about. But I'm going to start playing more events that way. Being with a coach that has thrown up when they've had to lead and just let it all go, or made a huge run and almost won a tournament. Having that understanding is really, really important, again, because golf is more than a technical piece. It's more than my elbow position. I've spent the last 3 months working on this one elbow position. Have you gotten better? So again, who should you listen to? You should listen to people that have had a track record of getting people better. Ideally, somebody that's been in the fire, that understands the game. And here's a great rule. Challenge your coach to go play golf with you one day. If they refuse to play golf with you one day, that means they don't trust their skills, which makes me a little bit nervous on their ability to coach me. Doesn't mean that all coaches that don't have the skills to shoot a certain score can't help you get better, but I would wonder a little bit on that. So that would be a fun task. And again, if anybody wants to come play golf with me, we'll head up to Green Hills or Birdwood. We'll tee it up, maybe even with a little whiskey, and have a good old time. But again, having that concept of understanding, but be careful who you listen to. There's a lot of false merchants of information out there. There's pariahs. There's people that think if you do this one thing, you'll get disproportionately better. Golf is not that game. I've seen it inside of the betting world, inside of data science. There's a lot of companies out there now that are trying to come up with systems to be able to predict score, be able to predict who's going to win events. There's just too many variables inside of golf to make that prediction worthwhile, right? So again, be careful who you listen to, be careful. And again, I would even say in the data science world, be careful. There's a lot of data science companies out there where they've never played golf. They're just data scientists. They're taking numbers and making it sing a story. I know from my time inside of golf analytics, you can make numbers sing a bunch of different tunes depending on how you shape them and present them. So just again, be careful. There's a lot of people out there that are going to sell you a bill of goods, but again, make sure that they have a track record to get better, that they understand and can play the game, and then again, they give you advice that's sound to what you're trying to do and not basing you off of some system or some person, or basing everything off of tour data, right? Who cares? If I shoot 90s, is it fair to compare me to somebody that shoots in the 60s? Not really. So again, having that coach that understands where you are, where you're trying to achieve is really, really big. Just be careful of those method and false prophets out there that say, I can teach you on YouTube, I can teach you inside of golf, the golf magazines or on the TV or inside of this software or this method of doing something that it's guaranteed to make you better. They're all just subtle pieces in your improvement. And I always tell people golf is like the decathlon. So if you think of Olympic sports, to be the decathlete champion, you have to be good at all 10 events. You can be super at 2 of them, average at most of them, but you can't be really, really bad at a few of them and expect to win a decathlete medal, right? So that golf is the same way. There's so many aspects of golf. You'll be really, really high end at certain pieces. You'll be okay at certain pieces. What we have to do is find those deficiencies and raise you up. And again, if you have a method or a methodology teacher that's only really good at one thing, as long as that discrepancy elevates you, they'll seem really, really smart. But again, that's just a small piece on moving you forward. So that's what I would kind of look at as a coach, finding someone that is a good track record, that is proven to get people forward. Ask coaches, ask friends, ask other players that you play with, who do they see, what do they like about them, get their insight as well. That way you make a really good informed decision on where you want to go. So that's the golf side. I hope that was helpful. It was helpful for me because again, I've noticed as a golf coach myself, I've seen the good and the bad in the industry, and there's some great golf coaches. Again, if you want to reach out to me, I'll refer you to a bunch of golf coaches out there that are just flat out phenomenal. But again, to me, there's a difference between a coach, and a coach is a person that elevates and teaches a player, opposed to a swing instructor or a methodology professor or something along that line. So again, be careful on taking advice from some groups, because some are not really out there to get you better. They're out there to promote themselves, and that's the worst kind of coach. All right, so